YouTube, it's the Eachine P-47. This thing is really cool. We're excited to bring it to you. Looks super scale. This is 500 millimeters. Runs on a 500 milliamp 1S pack. Comes ready to fly. You do have to put it together a little bit, which we will show next. Without further ado, we're in beginner mode. Advanced is up here, middle's in the middle, beginner's towards you. Then there's a return home, which I never use and don't recommend you do either. Oh yeah, flying great. Gear's making some funny noises, but look how nice that looks.
That looks cool.
Look how slow it goes, guys. Look at this. Sounds like our gear's a little bit torn up on our gearbox. Okay, so couple things to note that we didn't catch in our Unbox build-in radio setup. That is, aileron servos are supposed to be on the inside hole. Ours came with the ailerons in the outside hole, okay? Very good flying plane. Auto leveling, when you let go of the sticks, it just kind of corrects itself. I need to trim down just a hair. I'm gonna see if I can do that now. Okay, and then I need a little bit of trim to the, either I need trim to the left. Yeah, I need trim to the left and then a little bit more down. That looks pretty good right there. I think it's a rudder trim issue. Going on the inside?
Mm-hmm.
What? Nope, what?
I was too zoomed in.
Okay, we'll try again. You ready?
Yep.
So as per typical, these Eachine products will fly and do some strange things if you hold the sticks all the way to one side. Now, let's go ahead and try. Let's try getting a little bit more throttle in here. And then I'm gonna try the middle mode. I bet it's gonna work terrible. There's middle. Yeah, just very hard to fly. Okay, back into beginner, but just barely. Oh my goodness, that was a terrible flight experience. So basically, the middle mode, you might as well just never use it.
So are you gonna try?
I'm gonna try advanced, but I'm going a few mistakes high. You'll note that this is full throttle and I have full left rudder. Okay, so I'm up high enough. I feel like I might have enough time to recover if I have an issue, okay? So here we go. Okay, so we're at basically a few mistakes high. There's, oh my goodness, that was advanced. Okay, so yeah, so that didn't work very good. I think all the trim must have come in at once. Okay, so out of the throttle, about 10%, down to nothing. Let's try wheels down. Nice, that's gotta be one of the better wheels up, wheels down. Now there's no steerable tail wheel on this, so when I move the rudder, there's just no linkage to the actual wheel. So you're gonna note that that is not gonna work for you. The landing gear are very hard to get in. The control horns are very hard to snap in, okay? Don't plan on that being easy or you will be disappointed. Okay, throttle cuts off. There is, let's show the people what that noise is. Stay there. This gear is noisy. It's probably rubbing somewhere in there, but honestly, it's got enough power, so I'm not super worried about it. Hand launch is no problem. My only complaint on the looks of this plane are the dihedral, or rather the lack therein, on the or on the wings. Also, I notice it's flying kind of sideways, which is weird. I wonder if our flight controller's at an angle. And as we've experienced with other Eachine products, this plane is basically required to be in beginner mode to even fly with some remote certainty of not crashing. And you guys know I can fly without the stabilizers and stuff, but I generally fly with stabilization. I certainly don't use safe all the time or auto leveling, but it's nice that it comes with it. This has kind of the typical flyby suggestion tendencies that some of the Eachine products do. I feel like this one looks a little bit nicer than some of the 400mm warbirds, and especially up against those beautiful trees with our fall backdrop there. Looks really nice this afternoon too. That silver is beautiful. Now, this plane is gonna be quite robust too. It will stand us some crashes. And just so you know, you do get a spare prop. You don't necessarily want to have to use it though, because I suspect you're going to be having to tear out the spinner. So if you end up having a prop break on you, plan on tearing the thing up to get at it. Okay, so let's take out of the throttle here a little bit more. Oh, didn't make it to the runway. All right, let's check it out. So I would say in conclusion, this plane is quite good. It's maybe not the best rendition we've ever seen from Eachine, but if you're into the P-47, I think you're gonna be quite happy with this. I wanna see a takeoff and landing that's not weird, okay? So let's do that right now. Okay, takeoff and landing, wheels up, wheels down, here we go. Once you get that tail off the ground, you have no problem. Don't be afraid to use low throttle, folks. I'm at 30% throttle here, and look how well that's cruising around. Got to make it over the hay here. And then we're going to try to land right at our feet. Are you good? Mm-hmm. Oh, it almost did grass hops. That was pretty sweet. Maybe we'll land here if it'll make it. Okay, so you'll note that my landing gear is bent, and that would be an easy enough fix. So let's try it. There is no throttle hold on this thing or throttle cut, so be careful. I'm just gonna kind of bend it. Oh yeah, it bends for sure. That'll keep it from tipping over on me. Huh. Oh, that's not too bad at all. Let's do a pass right next to you here, camera crew. Okay. Oh yeah. Guys, for whatever this thing is going for, by the time you see it, I would say it's a fun plane. Definitely not going to be like a hobby grade flight experience with the provided radio. I can definitely tell you this though, if you get this thing set up with a jumper or with the Eachine's programmable transmitter, the computerized transmitter, then you may actually get really good precision on the controls. I feel like it could do so much better than what this little essentially freebie controller is. And I know that from experience because we've had other Eachines that perform quite a bit better with a computerized transmitter. That being said, it is a ready to fly, and you can actually open up the box, charge your battery, and be flying within about an hour or so if you don't have another external battery, or excuse me, another non-provided charger that's faster than what comes with it. This just has the USB style, and they're okay, but they're not great. They're real slow. Thing that's nice about this plane is you can legitimately be up in the air and you can be flying, and you can be flying within a few hours of opening the package. And you don't need to be an expert pilot, but I can tell you this, the higher level of expertise you have in radio controlled environment, the more you're going to enjoy flying this, because it is not the easiest flying beginner plane. I wouldn't even necessarily suggest this as a beginner plane. It's going to be more of a beginner toy. But if you know how to fly radio controlled airplanes, I think you can make this a beginner plane, okay? Because at that point it will survive. You'll be able to do takeoffs and landings, things like that. But if you're trying to do this in expert mode, just be super, super careful that you understand what you're getting into. Look at where the elevator is for one thing. I have to trim that like crazy just to get it. And then look at the rudder. Okay. This is in expert mode. Terrible, terrible flight performance. Just like absolutely horrible. Don't even think about flying in expert mode. It just doesn't do it. There's something wrong with the flight controller. But I can tell you this, in beginner mode, it is very fun. You can fly it extremely slow, which is super cool. And yes, I love the way that it looks, despite its flaws, which are a little bit too low of a dihedral angle. And to be honest with you, I will forgive them on that because they've made it so light. This is only 90 grams or just under with the battery, all up flying weight, 500 milliamp, 1S pack. Everything but the double A's is included in the wall socket for your USB charger. So you should be golden with this thing. This would be a great Christmas item, but you guys better get on it if you're ordering it for Christmas. I would recommend, if you're seriously considering this for yourself, for your kids, do not just get one for your kids, get one for yourself. You'll want to play with them together, I guarantee it. And yes, they are really fun. And yes, that thing flies pretty decent actually. Now, that being said, you guys know where I am in terms of my skills, and you know where you are in terms of your skills. If you are a beginner pilot, you are gonna have a harder time with this in a Sport Cub S. Yes, it is raining, in case you guys can tell. And so we're probably gonna have to call it quits because I don't wanna fly this thing in the rain. But I can definitely tell you this plane is cool. It is a keeper, and barring some sort of a weird lemon issue that you might get, and we do see that sometimes in the Chinese brands, I think you're gonna really like this plane. I do think the more experienced pilot is going to have a higher level of appreciation for it, even though it has its flaws. It is not perfect, but it is quite good. So with a strong level of suspicion, I always get these little Chinese planes, and I'm always very pleasantly surprised when they turn out well. This is one of them. Go ahead and get it if you like it. We'll have links in the video description below. When you buy from those links, you do help to support us financially. Their small contribution comes back to us in the form of a commission when you buy from those links. That doesn't mean I'm gonna tell you to buy something that I don't like. That being said, if you don't like this plane, you like something else better, by all means, scroll down the list. There's even more to choose from. And the truth of the matter is, we want you guys to be happy. We don't care if you like this plane versus the next plane. We just want you guys to be flying. The other thing is, if you want to support us financially, but you'd like to buy at your local hobby shop, or you've got some other mechanism you'd like to buy these through, that's fine. We understand that. Not everybody can do that. We also have Patreon and PayPal. We'd appreciate your patronage, and we already want to give a shout out to our patrons. Thank you guys for supporting us, and for the people that have been supporting us with their gifts and support on PayPal, which is by far the cheapest way to support us if you're just trying to give us 10 bucks or something like that, because otherwise Patreon has pretty high fees. So just full disclosure, we want to try to be as transparent about that stuff as we can. This thing is very cool. I like it. It's not my favorite Eachine. I still think that the T28 flies a little bit better, and that is in the 400 millimeter size. We have reviews on that right now. We have links. You can buy that plane too. Put it up against this and make your decision. This is a little bit bigger. We do mention that in our Unbox build and radio setup so that you guys can kind of make your quick comparison side by side. Is this plane better flying than the T28? I don't think so, but I think the T28 is a little bit better flying with the stock ready to fly configuration than this. I think this up against that with a jumper or another programmable transmitter like Eachine is offering one now, I think you're gonna find that this flies a little bit better than the T28 in that regard, because the bigger plane, allowed to fly slower, still got about the same size battery. You're still gonna get a long flight time, 10 plus minutes, I would suggest. And that's a lot for a 500 milliamp pack. I think these are all really good planes in the 400 millimeter size class and the 500. The jets do worse than the regular prop driven planes. So the P-51, the F4U Corsair, and the T28. We're also going to be doing the FW109, or excuse me,
BF109.
BF109. We're going to be doing the BF109 soon. And here comes the rain, guys. So that's all you get. Stay tuned. Come back for more. Thanks. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We have a box. It's in a garbage bag. I'm excited for this. I think I know what it is, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh yeah, look at that. We've got the Eachine Mini P-47. This thing has been ordered forever, and it's just been sitting and not coming to my house. And so I was super disappointed to not be seeing it until now. Eachine has made a line of 400 millimeter warbirds. We have a T28 over here on the other table, and that is the latest one that we did. Super excited to see this. Been very, very impressed with their performance. This is a bigger size. Oh. Okay, that's cool. This is the 400 millimeter series. This is quite a bit bigger. Oh, yeah. So this must be a 500 millimeter series. These things are really good too. And we've had really good luck with them. So I'm super excited to see what this is all about. And interestingly, there's a power switch on the bottom. This is very soft foam. It's got a lot of give to it. Big ailerons. They're kind of in an inboard flap position, which is strange. One single servo for that. And then this is just the power switch. So we're just gonna unbox this thing and get right into it. Oh yeah. Really bad dimpling on the decals. Those are a water-based decal. You see it's already ripping off.
Oh, wow.
That's unfortunate, but otherwise looks really good. Bumpier than some planes that we've reviewed in the past. Carbon fiber reinforcements on the tail. Pinch hinge, but very thin. There's gaps in here. That's surprising. Transmitter here. Let's pull this thing out. Okay, so it looks like the 2.4 gigahertz digital radio control system. Advanced, middle, and beginner. Return to home, which just points it back towards you. Screw holds on the cover. Don't feel like there's anything in there. Okay, we've got a prop. I don't know if this is a spare or the only one. It is a spare prop. This is an EP6030. Okay, it is a spare. We've got a charger in here, little USB adapter that goes to a 1S battery charger. We'll show you another option for that too. And we've got some landing gear. Looks like there's a handful of screws and a screwdriver there. And then of course the fuse. And we've got our batteries just kind of plopped in there. Looks really nice. There is another battery in here. You hear that? Oh, yep, they're back there. See this? You got to check in weird spots on these planes because they are considered integral batteries if they can slide them into the aircraft. And so then it becomes a lot less complicated for them to ship internationally, these extra batteries, because there's a certain level of capacity that they can do. Single gear, spins the prop, soft spinner, really cool looking. I don't really understand this. Really detailed. Don't like the bubbles. The bubbles are bad because everywhere there's a bubble, that decal is gonna rip off. But otherwise, very beautiful. I love the olive drab on top. I like the silver a lot. It is very hard to match silver paint, by the way. So first thing we gotta do is we gotta get this charger going. The box is very good. I doubt anybody is going to take apart the plane to that extent. That's a lot of disassembly. If you're gonna do that, I would just caution you that you're gonna have to take the thing all the way apart. Box is just a regular kind of thin-walled standard Eachine box. Got good artwork on the front.
But if you're looking at it from like a Christmas gift size shipping perspective or whatever. And
it's mostly unmarked. When you get stuff from Banggood, stuff comes marked like it's from Banggood because it'll come in a bag. But you won't know what it is because we never know what it is and we know what's coming. Okay, so these are 3.7 volts at 500 milliamp hours. So that's a pretty standard conventional size. We have quite a few 500s. So let's just go ahead and get those started before we even dive into the build. I do think that this lid is really cool. Look at that. It's like the perfect shape to receive the wing. It did get here in one piece, and Eachine generally does a pretty good job on packaging. Let's go ahead and plug this in real quick. So we'll just fire up a smart charger because it has a USB port on it. We also have a USB port on our little wall plug thing. I guess let's see how that works first. We'll just plug this in here. There's a little red light that flickered for just a second. And then let's go ahead and plug this in. Okay, so then there's a red light that comes on here. And then our little wall outlet also shows that it's charging. And why don't we, I'm gonna get a different type of charger. This charger is the charger I would recommend if you're gonna be using a lot of these little 1S batteries. This Spectrum micro LiPo charger is a really good value because you get 4 different chargers. I'm not crazy about the push button and scroll to dial in your charge rate, but I can say that we have been very happy with them. They work well. This is, of course, a Molex connector. So we're just gonna plug that in, click, and then scroll in 0.5 amp hours. I do also think it's very interesting that they pick amp hours as opposed to milliamp hours, but it would be hard to indicate milliamp hours because you'd use up the whole display doing it. Well, I think they should probably silk screen it and then show full numbers, because that's a little bit, you're not gonna find a battery like this that's ever in amp hours because it's small.
Right.
Milliamp hours, of course, 1,000th of an amp. Okay, so now that we've shown that, the charger was plugged in for just a second, and we'll see what we've got on this one. We'll plug them both in here so we can have them ready. And once I dial in my charge rate, which if you charge them at 1C, you're gonna be charging them at half an amp hour. Okay, because it's a 500 milliamp hour pack. Yeah, so it's, you know, it's gonna take forever if you charge it on this. This is a 5 volts input, and the output is 3 volts at 2 through 800 milliamp hour. So they're suggesting this as a range between 2 milliamp hours and 800 milliamp hours, which seems a little bit strange that it would be 2 to 800. I think they mean 200 to 800, but they couldn't print it on the case.
Yeah.
So
that first one didn't start.
Oh, it didn't start.
You
have to press and hold it, and then it starts charging. When it's done, it'll go green and it will beep.
Yep.
So while it's nice to have a charger like this because you can also put in a DC input, we always charge in the AC environment here, so we don't have anything special to say about that. Now, that being said, we've been very happy with this charger, but you could also use a regular balance charger and build your own cables and charge several of them at a time if you want. Just make sure that if you do that and you're treating them like a 3S pack or something like this, if you build a special connector, you can do that. But you do have to have the cells discharged evenly. So just build 1S adapters if you can. So that means one cell in series, even though it's not in series. That's sort of a counterintuitive thing. Okay, so manual that comes with the book. They talk about, 50 minutes charge time is what they're recommending. Wow. And that is not the type of USB charger that they provided. That's not uncommon. They vary once in a while. Looks like they want those going forward. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do this assembly. Should be pretty easy. We've obviously got the spare prop, which is really nice that they provide that. Just some little loose pieces of foam here and there. And it looks like we're gonna need some screws, which is a little bit strange. We haven't seen a lot of that. Looks like this goes down. It's got a keyed place to slip in here. Okay, so that slips in. Really, really nice fit, actually. Surprisingly tight tolerances for an Eachine product. They're typically not really super scale. So I'm just kind of feeling for those 2 holes. We'll slip this down in here. That is a really tight, nice fit, actually. Surprisingly good. See how that decal's broken there? Mm-hmm. That's because it has to flex, so that's normal. Now, I'm not sure which hole to put it in, so let's see if it says. This is a picture, this is a picture. So they're suggesting the inside hole on the rudder. On the elevator, they're suggesting the outside hole. Okay, so this one's gonna go to the inside. That one's gonna go to the outside. Inside, middle, outside. Meaning it's going to deflect the elevator less than it will deflect the rudder, which is customary on this type of warbird. Love the way it looks really nice. Okay, so obviously we've got 2 wires we have to feed through. Let's see if it talks about that at all. No, just the customary kind of step through here. Oh, there you go. Yeah, the rudder's on the inside, elevator's on the outside, and ailerons are on the wherever they're already hooked up, which they are. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. Just gonna grab this chair. And you've got this power switch, and we've got the aileron plug, so we have to actually wire that in somewhere. Now let's show them a detail of this board. There's 2, that says on, off, and then this one says LED, and then that obviously must be our other aileron port. Could you see that good? Mm-hmm. That's gonna be a Bearcat to plug in though. I'm sort of torn between if I want to get forceps now or struggle and see if I can do it without. Since everybody doesn't have forceps, let's go ahead and do it without for now.
Yeah.
And we'll come back. I'm just gonna take these 2 wires and push them through this crack here, trying to keep them all on the same side of the wires there. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. That is a really nice looking microbird.
Yeah.
Not enough dihedral on the wing, which is a bit off-putting to me. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and get forceps. I don't think I can accomplish it without at least needle nose pliers. I feel like forceps are a little bit less common for people. Okay, needle nose pliers. Be careful, these will crush that plane pretty easy. And then forceps. The reason I'm using forceps is because I can get it for sure. Now this is a keyed plug. Both of them are. This is a micro pH 1S plug. And I can tell that there's a little bump right there. See that bump that's facing the camera? As opposed to the contacts. That bump goes toward the servos. So I'm gonna flip this upside down and just try to get my fingers wrapped around it. And I'm gonna plop this in. And you're probably thinking to yourself, Brian, you haven't even screwed it together. What are you doing wiring it up? Well, just because I gotta get the wires managed at some point. Might as well just get it done. Same thing here, this pin, it's got a single pin. That needs to go toward what would be the left wing, this wing. So the brown is gonna go toward the camera crew in this case. So I'm just grabbing this. I'm not snapping it together, you'll see. I'm just kind of holding it. If you don't have a pair of forceps, we have used these hundreds of times and they are very handy. And it is a tool I wish I would have had years ago. And it's a multi-function tool. I get a lot of trouble from people for not using, you know, like snap ring tools and things of this nature. And that's because it's a single-use tool, so I don't have room for a lot of single-use tools. These tools can be used for hundreds of things. This tool can be used for hundreds of different things. I mean, yes, there's the common things, but I like tools that I can use on a bunch of different things, okay? So that's why you don't see me doing like E-clip.
And we are like in the kitchen.
We're in the kitchen too. There's that. Okay, so that snaps on nicely.
Yeah, it does.
Very, very nice look from the side. On the front, look how flat the wing is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs dihedral.
Is the canopy like skinnier than it?
No, it looks good. I really like the canopy. Cool. It's super scale. The one thing I'm not crazy about is that I would like dihedral in this wing, and so I'm a little bit off put by that. Again, still otherwise very scale looking and beautiful gear door on the tail, which of course, you know, I don't know that it would necessarily look exactly like this, but it's a cool detail. And then let's look at how the landing gear look. The landing gear have been the fatal flaw on this lineup because they have been butt ugly, if you ask me. So we're gonna see how this one turns out. I'm guessing it's gonna be way better because they already look a lot nicer. They've got way better detail. They look like they spin well, but they do feel like they're gonna be quite flimsy still. Flimsy landing gear are sort of a waste of time. If you're really trying to do wheels up, wheels down, you need to have pretty robust landing gear. And that's something that most manufacturers do a really bad job on. Eachine has been kind of somewhere in the middle. They're kind of like middle of the road in my opinion. Okay, so they provide an extra snap backer sort of thing that goes on one of these clips. And then they provide all the screws. There's some that are flat-headed that are a little bit bigger, and there's some that are skinnier. Gosh, there's like 4 different types.
Yeah.
One, of course, there's not gonna be any indication. These 2 are the same, these 2 are the same, and these 2 are the same. So there's 3 different styles. Okay, so in that case, I'm going to assume that these go with the landing gear. So I'm gonna do that right now. So these go down like this into that little, wait, do they? They do go forward, but it's a little bit weird. Like, I'm not sure exactly how this is supposed to work. They're showing the diagram one way, but then there's a screw hole, and I'm just not 100% sure. I don't want to put this in and screw up the threads. It looks like this should go back here and then roll into position, but it's kind of feels a little bit tight. Oh, there it goes. Okay, then it just snaps in. Please snap in. Oh, I don't want to break it. Oh man, that feels terrible. That feels really bad. I'm pretty certain that's the right way to do it too. Okay, so let's come back to that. I'm gonna go ahead and put these screws in. So it looks like these two screws are the ones that we need for the main wing. I could be mistaken, and yes, it is a very small Chinese screwdriver, which does not leave a lot of room for some people's hands are not gonna work well with that. Don't drop the screws. They're very difficult to find. That did feel like it was possibly the right size because it's got enough head on it to actually hold. Yep, that appears to be correct. See, I'm not seated all the way, so I don't think it's gonna seat until this side is not seated, this side is. So you see I'm looking at this wing root. Oh yeah, there it goes. I just had to kind of push it in a little bit more. Ah, there it goes. I feel like it's biting maybe now. Huh. It's not biting because I'm not actually lined up all the way yet. So it's kind of got a snap to it almost. See if I can get that to fall down there now. You know, it could be that I just picked the wrong screw, but it seems like the right screw to me because these ones have too big a head to fit down that hole. And then the other ones seem like they're more appropriate for back there.
Mm-hmm. Seem really tiny.
Yeah, that one's going for sure. I can feel it biting, and you can also see it's pulling the wing down. Okay. So now when I lift on the wing, it doesn't separate, but the back is, maybe it's sort of halfway there. Watch for the screw. Mm-hmm. Nothing. Okay, so we must have some level of purchase there. And by purchase, I mean it's threading into the hole, if that wasn't already immediately obvious. Okay, I can't tell if that's biting. So, the second step, I'm gonna try this one more time. Boy, those are surprisingly difficult to get in. There we go, I got that in. I like that they've got the snap design, but I don't like the fact that it's not going in. Because I don't wanna break this, trying to snap these on. And I know I'm bending my landing gear a little bit doing this. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'll go ahead and do the tail then in that case, because I don't want to get ahead of myself and screw it up. Okay, so I can definitely see down into those openings to see that the holes are lined up. You don't need to show them, it's not that critical. That sounds terrible. Oh my goodness. Okay, just careful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, it's definitely going. But you can hear that noise. It sounds just really bad as I'm trying to tighten that screw. Makes me think I'm not in there. There we go. I'm in there now for sure. Boy, there's not very many turns on that. I think I got about 1.5 turns, and it is definitely biting. So don't plan on, spending too much time threading that in. This one I have to drop kind of with my fingertips. And then I'm just gonna kind of tighten this. I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea. This isn't really hard, it's just kind of strange. Because the foam is soft and there's not really a lot to push against, which hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But you see, I only got about half a turn in that one. And I'm sure that it's on there because it's on there for sure. Now the tail dragger assembly is super easy. That just slips right in, no problem. Love it.
Oh, wow.
And but it's not steerable, so you're gonna have to straighten this to get it, you know, overbend it a little bit, and that'll get you lined up with the length of your plane. And you can see my landing gear on the mains are just scary, because as I press on here, I'm kind of holding with my middle finger to support it, and I just can't quite get it. There it goes, finally. Okay, that's good, that's good. That was okay, I can live with that. But you see there's a support here, and I'm holding that plastic rather than holding the foam. That's the ticket, and then it doesn't rock. There it goes. And by the way, if you look at those landing gear, I don't know, call me crazy, but I feel like maybe I put them in wrong. No, the wheels are pointed inward. That's the way they show it in the drawing. So they show this on the drawing towards you as the camera, okay? So this is correct. And they do look pretty good. They look scale. And I think we're gonna have a little bit of strength, but there's no way that thing is gonna track straight with those things in that configuration. So I am going to take and put in the provided screw, even though I don't think it's gonna be totally necessary. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get that started here. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna need that screw.
Well, and if you don't need it, then it's easier to take out the gear if you
decide to go to just like a hand toss setup. Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement, but the thing is, I'm kind of feeling like those are not, they are not maybe the right screws. I don't even want to put them in. I don't even like the way they feel. And you can see I marred the finish there by just sticking that screw in. So we'll see. I mean, that is a really nice looking small plane. Sometimes ultra micro planes or really small planes don't have very good scale appeal, but I would say that that is surprising. And by the way, it is extremely light. So we are gonna get the scale. The scale is gonna tell the tail. Because I wanna know if this thing is gonna be under the 250 gram weight limit to keep away from FAA rules. Okay, we're in grams. Try to set this on here. I may have to set up a plate or something. Oh yeah, we're at like 70 grams, folks. I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say, yeah, it's way under. Yeah, see, you're like, I would say that you're probably gonna be, let's figure out what the battery weighs. You can stay right there. I'm gonna go grab one of the batteries. We're at 4.2 volts, but not done. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull this. That noise you hear is a warning that there was some sort of an unexpected state. Okay, so we have about 13 grams plus, let's just call it, let's see if we can hang this over the edge and get the plane to sit on it. Yeah, see, the wheels are gonna wanna touch. It's awkward. Okay, pause, we'll come back. Okay, so while we were paused, we figured out we use this foam, which is the lid. We'll zero this off. And then we can try to put the plane on top of it that way. Except that still didn't work very good. Well, that's awkward. Yeah, we'll pause and get it. Okay, so we took the body, zeroed off the case. Now we can measure it. 78 grams plus the battery is 91 grams. As you can see, we've got 91 grams here. And so that's gonna give us the ability to be well under the 250 gram limit. There's an on-off switch down here, and you need 4 AA's. They do not come with AA's. Okay, so we got 4 AA's. We'll just plop these in here. The setup on these Eachine planes is usually less than this. So I think the only other time we've had to do assembly like this would have been on the J3 Cub. And the J3 Cub incidentally did not turn out good, but I don't think this one's gonna have that same conflict. It was too heavy and there were some different issues. They were trying to go way too detailed. This thing is very light and that should make for a very good performance. That thing does not stay on if you don't put the screw back in. So incidentally, that's just like a safety thing for kids. They don't want them eating batteries and all that. So we are definitely underweight. Throttle's down. Sticks move free, feels very cheap. Return to home. Trim for rudder. Trim for throttle. Trim for, that's probably not trim for the throttle. That's trim for something. That might actually be another function. And then trim for the ailerons. And there is a beep feedback. So it looks like in advanced mode, it's double beep, then 3 beeps, 2 beeps, 1 beep. So that's nice. You've got some audible feedback for you while you're flying. Okay, so the battery is super easy to put in. You basically have to pull the canopy off, but the canopy blends in really nice. You're gonna forget where it goes. Okay, so that pops up. It's got a little compression fitting. There's a ball joint that kind of snaps into it on either side. And there is a battery connector right here that comes off of the main board. Okay, if that drops in there and you have trouble getting it, use the lead to get in there, tangle it, and you can pull it out. So you kind of get that between those wires, and then you can pull it out that way. Okay, so this is where you'll want to just be mindful. The throttle could turn on if there's something wrong. Generally it doesn't, but just be a little bit careful. Okay, so these are keyed. They only go in one way. I don't know if we're going to have to bind this or not. I'm kind of guessing we don't. And they haven't talked about CG, but we didn't look through the entire manual. So let's go ahead and just verify we don't need to mess with that. Okay, so if we look through the manual, we didn't put 2 screws in the wheels, so I want to make sure we're not way off. I don't see anything at all about CG. It just talks about what's in the book. Okay, so set the 1 key return home. Place the plane on ground pointing to the front of the flying field. Power on the transmitter, and then plane, make sure the binding is finished. Then press return home. The rudder will move back to neutral. Means the plane already remembered takeoff direction and setting for 1 key return home. So just keeping in mind what 1 key return home means is not I'm gonna fly home and land perfectly. What it means is if this thing is flying away from you and you've lost directional orientation, you can press the button and it'll turn around once. Then it's gonna fly right past you, okay? So, or it's going to generally point the opposite direction of flying away from you. I don't trust it. You should neither. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, don't be surprised. These planes are good enough that that doesn't matter, okay? All right, so I am not anything with this. I don't feel anything because I'm off. Okay, so I'm gonna lay it down. I put it to the on position. Okay, the transmitter is on currently. Throttle up, throttle down. I don't hear anything spring to life, so unusually I'm going to turn off the transmitter while this is on. I'm going to turn on the transmitter, and it's already live. I did not have to arm it by moving the throttle stick. So aileron roll left, aileron roll right, elevator up, elevator down. Now that this is on, we can go ahead and put these controls in, okay? You'll note that both of my ailerons are down a lot, okay? I'm gonna actually leave it that way just to see if it acts as like a flap, okay? So you see this? This needs to go. So I'm gonna take 3 fingers and hold that to brace the rod, and then I'm gonna move this in until it gets lined up with the inside hole. Okay, and what I mean by lined up with it is I don't want it to push the rudder like that. I want it to be centered. Okay. Another probably half a turn, maybe 1. No, at least 1. Okay, see, as I do that, it gets closer and closer to alignment. That's probably about right. Let's see how that looks. And I'm not gonna snap it in, I'm just gonna try to kind of put it loosely together. Okay. Nope, I need to come out toward me. So that means I'm gonna hold this with 3 fingers, a thumb and 2 fingers opposite, and then I'm gonna come out 1 turn. I'm gonna try this again. So I don't know if you guys are able to see as good as I can see. When you move the plane, it responds. When I move the plane, it responds opposite. I need to come out another half a turn. Why don't you come over here so that you can see and then you won't be blocking my light there. So I'm coming out one more half a turn. Let's try this. Okay, so it'll be a little easier to see from that angle too. Yeah, that's pretty darn straight. I don't know if you can see that. So the surface is very straight. Now I'm gonna snap this through. You gotta be very careful not to break the tip, because if you break that ball end off, it will basically not be fun to fix. Because you don't have a spare one. This is very tight here too, so it'd be nice if I had more light. I feel like I can't see very good. I'm gonna try with some pliers. So I'm just gonna try this again with pliers this time, because if you break them, you're pretty much in trouble then. Okay, so I'm just trying to line it up straight, and see, it's wanting to bend the tip. I can tell it's gonna wanna try to break off on me if I don't get it lined up. And it's fighting me right now. So I'm gonna actually lift up this control like this, and that's gonna help me straighten it, okay? But these controls back here are not strong, okay? You'll break that hinge if you're not careful. So I cannot make the angle. You're blocking all my light. There we go. Okay, just like this. I'm gonna try to see what's happening. See how it's wanting to bend, guys? If you get that happening where it's wanting to bend like that, you really kind of have to engage it to where it's not going to break off. You have to kind of push it back like this. I'm just doing it with my finger, okay, so that it lines up straight. This is one of those delicate steps, and there is no easy way about it if they don't go through. There, it feels like maybe it's trying to go through, but of course I have no light. I feel like. I'm glad I did the rudder first. See how that's bending now to the left?
Does that help?
Yeah. Okay. All right, so that's good. So now I can get that to penetrate through. Okay. Oh, good. Got it. Yes. Okay, so now that I have it, okay, that's all moving freely and it's in the right position. Now we need to do the same thing with the elevator, just being mindful that the stabilizer is probably going to try to center this. This is supposed to go to the top hole, okay? So I'm going to just basically hold this and then spin this like this until it gets it where it needs to be. As you can see, it's got a long ways to go, okay? Make sure you brace this. If you don't, it's going to spin inside on the servo end, and it's basically gonna screw up your attempts, and it could cause a problem, okay? All right, so just keep going until you have that lined up so that your elevator is neutral. You want it to be neutral when you're not giving it input and when the plane isn't in some weird attitude, because when it's at a weird attitude, the stabilizer and flight controller may be trying to level the aircraft, okay? Yeah, I gotta go another, geez, that was a lot. That was like 7 or 8 turns. Okay, that feels like it's probably close enough there. We do have trim. Okay, so same thing. I gotta be super careful not to break this. There it goes. I got luckier on that one. Okay, so now if you look at that, if I lift up the tail, watch what happens. It moves up and it moves down, okay? All right, so that being said, I'm just gonna lay these things down, and I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna test control surfaces up, down, yaw left, yaw right, roll left, roll right. Now, I'm a little bit concerned about the amount of attitude with these. You see that? Oh, that is so weird. I thought maybe it was correcting with the pitch of the plane, but they're not. So I'm not sure if that's gonna be a problem. It's probably gonna act like flaperons right now. So we're gonna go out and we're gonna try this, guys. If you wanna help support the channel, the best way to do it is to buy these things from the links in the video description below. We'll get a small commission from the people we work with, and you get the awesome plane that you want. Now, hopefully this thing turns out awesome. As you know, we filmed the flight second, but we put it in the beginning of the videos because that's what people wanna see more than the radio setup. And So we've just done that. We started doing that a couple of years ago, but I have to assume it's good until I actually get out there and fly it. So hopefully this thing isn't a turd because I just said it was great. The 500 milliamp batteries, there's 2 in this kit. Remember, when you're picking, you have to pick how many planes you want or how many batteries you want with your plane, because many times it's offered with 1, 2, or 3, sometimes even 4. If you know you're gonna fly it a lot, get the one that's got the more batteries because they're very inexpensive in that configuration. You may only spend like 15 bucks to get 4 batteries. It's gonna give you a lot of flight time. If you've got a bunch of other planes like this, chances are you've already got multiple batteries, so you just get the 1 battery option. Also, if one of them appears to be out of stock, check the other batteries and see if you can get it in stock that way. Okay, cool. So hopefully this thing was great. We always love bringing these simple planes to you here because there's nothing better about getting people into the hobby than getting you hooked on the cheap, almost free taste. And then next thing you know, you'll be doing planes like this or like that. And that's why you come to Brian Phillips RC, because we're gonna show you the entire slew of everything that we do, from the ready to fly. This one would be considered ready to fly. It comes with everything but the AA's and the AC charger that takes you to USB, all the way up to plug and fly planes and beyond. And we try to bring you a great mix of whatever's available right now. So if you're looking for the latest and greatest, you can find it here on Brian Phillips RC. So thanks for watching, guys. We also have the Patreon and PayPal if you want to support us, but you don't like this particular plane. But we will have links to this in the video description below, as well as the other 400 millimeter Warbird series. I believe this one's actually 500 millimeters. Did it say on the box?
Might be on the box.
I'm sorry I didn't check that earlier, guys. I just kind of forgot. Ah, yes, it does. It does say right here, 500 millimeter wingspan, crash resistant EPP.
Here you go.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, so really happy to bring these to you. Thanks for watching, guys. We really appreciate you, the best audience on YouTube. We're gonna go fly.